Iowa City rests in eastern Iowa and dates back to 1839. Despite being relatively safe, Iowa City has several horrific man-made and natural events in its extensive past. Among those include the anti-war protest of 1970, an EF2 tornado in 2006, and a major flood in 2008. While those events did not claim many lives, the mass shooting at the University of Iowa and the Supple family annihilation were different. Before Gang Lou killed 5 and himself at the University of Iowa, and Stephen Supple killed his 5 family members and himself, Jane Wakefield's disappearance set Iowa City alight with rumors of murder. The 26-year-old teacher disappeared on September the 6th, 1975, before various rumors circulated. Some speculated Jane had ran away with the Jesus People cult, while a tip from another state resulted in authorities draining 2 Iowa City lagoons. A more credible tip had authorities on their hands and knees searching for cremated remains along I-80. Will the mystery of Jane Ellen Hallberg Wakefield's disappearance ever be resolved? Join us as we dig deeper into this unsolved mystery. Jane Ellen Hallberg was born on November the 19th, 1948, and grew up close to Minneapolis. Jane and her friend Carol enrolled in Morningside College in Sioux City, Iowa, and started rooming together in 1966. In the same year, Jane was working at Sioux City's public museum. It is here she would meet her future husband, John Wakefield, through a co-worker. Jane moved in with John after finishing her freshman year in early 1967. John was a graduate student at the University of Iowa, with classes set to begin in the fall of 1967. After the couple married in September 1967, Jane transferred to the University of Iowa and graduated in 1970. She spent time teaching at 2 area school districts while her marriage broke down. One friend speculated that the issue stemmed from the fact that John wanted kids, but Jane did not. Jane filed for divorce in March of 1975, before moving into the Aire mobile home park in Iowa City to have a place of her own. The divorce will be delayed due to difficulties determining how businesses managed by John should be handled. Sadly, none of that would matter in the end. Within roughly 6 months, Jane would vanish, creating a baffling mystery that still lingers today. In August 1975, Jane accepted a teaching position at Penn Elementary School in North Liberty. On Saturday, September the 6th, she enjoyed a group cross-country bike ride that ended when Jane told friends she needed to get back for an appointment. Later that afternoon, a neighbor briefly spoke to Jane and noticed nothing out of the ordinary. Sometime late Saturday night, neighbors heard yelling, but thought nothing of it because there was a loud party at a residence nearby. On Sunday, September the 7th, a friend visited Jane's mobile home. No one answered, so the friend left without seeing or speaking to Jane Wakefield. On Monday, Jane failed to show up to her job at Penn Elementary School, and Principal Larry Sharp was unable to reach her. School officials contacted the mobile home park's manager, who got in touch with Jane's current boyfriend. Together, they visited Jane's mobile home and found nothing unusual, so they contacted the authorities. When Iowa City police arrived, they found Jane's Fiat still parked in its designated spot and her bicycle still locked to a yard lamp. Inside, they discovered her purse and other belongings. The scene provided no evidence to help explain Jane's disappearance. From that point forward, authorities would receive several tips and form 3 theories. The first possibility was that Jane Wakefield had left with a Jesus People cult that had been camping near Coralville Lake. Family and friends doubted that theory because Jane was too much on top of things to fall prey to a cult. The cult's latest camp in Huntsville, Arkansas, was searched approximately 10 days after Jane's disappearance, but there was no sign of her. Iowa City police would get another possible break a few weeks later from a witness who overheard an odd conversation at a motel in Emporia, Kansas. While listening through the wall, the man claimed to have heard the following: "We'll get rid of her the same way we did that one back in Iowa City, in a sewage lagoon." While the information was sketchy, police acted on it anyway, out of an abundance of caution. On September the 10th, 1975, 2 city lagoons near the Aire Mobile Home Park were drained. But nothing of interest was discovered. Police later learned that the hotel conversation happened in August, before Jane vanished, so the move was a waste of time and resources. Then, investigators enlisted the help of psychics. Although the psychics agreed that Jane was in a body of water, they couldn't agree on which body of water she was in. As a result, police hit another roadblock. They wouldn't get another break until 4 months after the disappearance, but it would be their most promising to date. A credible confidential informant would speak to police. This wasn't just any informant. It was a friend of the primary suspect, and they had passed a lie detector test. The informant told police that an individual he knew had admitted to murdering Jane Wakefield, cremating her body, and spreading the remains along a ditch on Interstate 80 near Iowa City. The informant went further, claiming the suspect had allegedly tried to point suspicion onto Jane's new boyfriend. The following details are based on the confidential informant's statements to police. On September the 6th, 1975, the accused had rented an automobile from the Cedar Rapids Airport that matched the vehicle driven by Jane's current boyfriend. They drove the rental car to Jane's mobile home later that night, entered her home, and choked her to death with their bare hands. Jane's body was moved to the trunk of her rental car and taken to an apartment building in Iowa City where her husband, John Wakefield, resided. A large amount of charcoal was poured into a trash incinerator and lit on fire. Then, Jane's body was placed inside and cremated. The leftover contents were swept into a garbage can. The following night, the suspect drove onto Interstate 80 near Iowa City and parked the vehicle on the shoulder. They got out and spread the ashes along the ditch. In January 1976, authorities had search warrants for the apartment building, trash incinerator, and 2 businesses run by John Wakefield. Police visited a tavern where the suspect worked, and a billiard parlor and apartment house in Iowa City. Both were managed by Jane's estranged husband, John Wakefield. At the apartment, police sifted through the ashes from the incinerator and took 5 vacuum cleaners. They seized miscellaneous pieces of bone debris, a piece of metal that appeared to be a tooth filling, and a small white chip of bone-like material. These items were sent to a state crime lab in Des Moines for testing. The tests were unable to determine whether the materials were connected to Jane's disappearance. Regardless, Iowa City investigators weren't ready to give up. The following week, around 20 officers searched several miles of ditches along Interstate 80 on their hands and knees. Despite the painstaking effort, nothing they found related to the disappearance of Jane Wakefield. Police admitted that one major suspect had refused to take a lie detector test, and even questioned the validity of such tests. Since then, the case has gone cold, and Jane Wakefield has never been seen again. Jane Ellen Wakefield was legally declared dead 7 years after she vanished on September the 5th, 1982. Individuals with the Gazette reached out to John Wakefield many years later. In the March 19, 1992 edition of the newspaper, it was mentioned that they had contacted John at his parents' residence in Sioux City. He allegedly declined to answer questions about the case and pointed out that he had put up a reward of $1,000, although no one came forward. John supposedly said, "The last time I talked with someone from the media, I was publicly raped. Hey, if you've got new information about Jane, I'd love to talk with you. But if you're calling me to put me through hell again, then I'll have to decline." What happened to Jane Wakefield? Did she succumb to the lure of the Jesus movement, which swept across the United States in the 60s and 70s? Or did John Wakefield commit the perfect crime, which has baffled investigators for nearly 50 years? Is the evidence still available? And could it be tested to finally put an end to the mystery? Unfortunately, Jane Wakefield's possible murderer could still be walking the streets among the thousands of others just waiting for another victim. At the time of her disappearance, Jane Ellen Wakefield was 26-year-old with a bright future ahead of her. If she was alive today, she would be nearly 75 years old.